Bettor Sports Betting is your home for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Fantasy Alarm and Bettor Sports Network YouTube on a Tuesday afternoon. Got Jon Impemba with me on this Tuesday show. What's up, man?
Just another day. Got a big day of NBA basketball ahead of us. In-season tournament day here, elimination day. It should be a fun one.
Yeah, we got a number of sports we covered on this show. Yesterday, we reviewed some of your winning picks for the NFL weekend, you and Howard. So we're rolling right into Tuesday's show here we got college football playoff odds to discuss with a lot of scenarios to break down there for you guys. And then NBA bets from John for tonight. We got college basketball bets from me for tonight. And then some hockey, some NHL picks from our producer, Adam Bernard, for tonight as well. So we got it all covered. If you got any of your own picks or bets that you're rolling with tonight, definitely throw them in the chat here on YouTube or wherever you're watching, and we'll get to your own picks and predictions as they come in. Let's start though with some college football because tonight we're gonna have the as Tuesdays go, we're gonna have the updated college football playoff rankings before. This weekend we have the conference championships for all the conferences out there, and it'll basically decide, where we're going to stand with some of these teams that are going to make the college football playoff or not. Because as it stands, we have a lot of scenarios with basically, 7-8 teams still alive to make the final four college football playoffs. And you can see here the odds. These are on ESPN Bet, but you'll look around at different sports books wherever you're looking to find the better odds. But here are the kind of updated current odds to make the college football playoff with all these top teams. And John, I wanted to just kind of break down each scenario here because if you're looking to bet this, yes, no, whether a team will make the college football playoff, I think there's value on some of these teams. And I want to kind of break down each of the scenarios here. So I'll start with Alabama, Georgia. And you can see there, you saw Alabama plus 190 to make the college football playoff. I think their only scenario to make it is if they beat Georgia this weekend in the SEC championship game. If they lose, they're going to have two losses. They are very likely out unless something crazy happens with every other team. But very likely they are out with a loss. But if they win, they are in. They're going to be the SEC championship with a one loss. They're definitely going to be in if they beat Georgia. And I think they're 5 or 6 point underdogs. So we'll see, I think there's value on betting yes at plus 190, but I think if they lose, they're definitely out. Georgia, they're in for sure. If they beat Alabama, they're going to be undefeated SEC championship, but they could still make it if they lose. And their odds were plus 600 to no, minus 1,200 to yes. It's clear that they are, even with a one loss, they are still alive. They would probably need Florida State to lose and possibly Texas as well to lose. There's a chance that if Washington beats Oregon and it's an undefeated Washington, 2-loss Oregon is out, then Georgia can still make it there as well. But even if Georgia loses, they can still make it. But I do think there's value on betting no. If you think Alabama can pull off this upset and beat Georgia, there's value on betting Georgia to no to make the playoff. Because if Alabama wins, if they're in, if they win, Michigan is going to be in when they beat Iowa. And then if Washington wins, they're in. And then if Florida State wins, they're in. That's going to be, all undefeated conference championships, except Alabama, but that would knock Georgia out. So if you want, I think there's value on betting on Georgia if you think Alabama can pull off that upset.
Value betting Michigan, the no on Georgia there?
I think there's value there, yeah. There's still a lot of scenarios that they can make it. If you think Florida State might lose, if you think Texas would lose, then Texas is like two double-digit favorites in their Big 12 championship. So I don't think they're going to lose, but there is multiple scenarios here where Georgia could still get in if they lose. So I think there's value, even though that's the case. I think there's value on betting the no there at plus 600. Michigan, I'm not even going to spend any time on it because they are 23-point favorites over Iowa in the Big 10 championship. It would be insane, honestly, if they lost that. And if they lose, I do think they'd be out. They could still be alive, but I think they need a lot of other teams to lose as well. And it's possibly Ohio State kind of jumps them if Michigan does lose. Who knows? But I'm not going to spend. You can see minus 3,000 to yes on Michigan, plus 1,100 on no, but I'm not betting no on that. As for Ohio State, they're still alive. They just lost to Michigan, right, this weekend. Mm-hmm. But it really – so tonight, you got to pay attention to where the College Football Playoff Committee ranks Ohio State after this loss. Because if they are, ahead or maybe one spot behind, wherever they compare to the other one-loss teams right now, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama, if they're ahead of all those teams and maybe are fifth or maybe sixth in the rankings, they can still get in if multiple teams lose this weekend. If Florida State, Texas, and Alabama all lose, maybe even Oregon, then Ohio State can still sneak in. So I think there's value on betting yes on that. I don't see it happening, honestly, but they are very much still alive. And those odds are, yes to make the playoff is plus 2,200. It's pretty crazy. So there is, believe it or not, still a scenario because the committee, they have a really good strength of schedule, Ohio State. They have some good wins on their resume. The loss to Michigan is obviously what's hurting them, but they still, I think, are going to be rated and power rated ahead of, Texas and probably ahead of Alabama and possibly ahead of Oregon. We'll see. So that's that. Washington. So Washington, Oregon. Let's dive into this one. Pac-12. They're playing Friday night, Pac-12 championship. The winner of that is in my opinion. Washington for sure. They're going to be undefeated. So if they win, they're in. Oregon, if they win, they should be in the college football playoff. I think, it's going to be a one-loss Pac-12 champion. Basically, their only scenario to not making it if they win would be if Georgia, Washington, Florida State, and Michigan all win. Not Washington. Florida State, Georgia, Washington would all be undefeated going in. And if the committee thinks that Florida State should be or Oregon should be behind Ohio State, I doubt that is the case if they are the conference championship. But there is a scenario Oregon doesn't make it if they win here. If Georgia loses to Alabama, we could have a one-loss SEC Georgia team. Who knows? The committee might think they're better than Oregon. I doubt that's the case, but same thing with Washington. If they lose, they're going to need multiple other teams to lose because there's going to be one loss team. Florida State, Texas, and Alabama will probably all have to lose for them to get in, or at least one or two of them for Washington to still sneak in if they lose. So that's the Pac-12. And then for Texas, they need some help because they're just ahead of Alabama, but they would likely need Florida State to lose. They probably would need Washington to lose. And they if they beat Oklahoma State for the Big 12 title, they're still not a lock to get in because if multiple teams win above them, they're still going to be behind and might get left out here. We'll see. So I still think there's value on betting no on them. It was minus 160 on ESPN Bet. I just think they need a lot of help to get in, but who knows? You could root for craziness this weekend, and we'll see with all this.
Right. Yeah, I never really know which way the college football playoffs. Someone's going to be disappointed. We know that.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy though that some recent years it's basically been laid out like, all right, this is basically the four teams. Maybe there's a fifth still alive, but it's basically been 4 or 5 teams kind of penciled into that that top tier. But now we do literally have 8 teams still alive. So it's gonna be interesting. Going into this final weekend.
Sure.
Later in the week, I'll be good on some betting picks for these conference championships to see where I'm leaning on those. But we'll see. It's going to be a fun weekend. T. Hartley 16 over on YouTube saying shout out to Michael Penix, like the Huskies. They are interesting. I got to really dive into this and see where I want to go. But Washington's like 9.5 point underdogs. Latest I saw against Oregon in this Pac-12 championship, despite beating them already this year. Oregon is just kind of viewed as the better overall team. They've finished the season a lot stronger than Washington, who's kind of survived some upsets. Going to be interesting, though, if Washington does lose that, if they could still sneak in. It's going to be tough for them to make it, though. So, yeah, that's college football playoff odds as of now. We'll see where all this shakes out. All right, let's get to some NBA, some college basketball. Got to remind you tonight on the BetterCast app, we got 7 p.m. Eastern. We got NFL trivia hosted by Moose and Keith. So you can test your NFL knowledge by answering multiple choice questions in our free contest. Win tickets to redeem authentic NFL merchandise. No purchase or subscription necessary. It's always free to play. You download the free BetterCast app in the Apple app and Google Play stores. Must be at least 18 years old. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern on the BetterCast app. You can scan that QR code right on the screen there. All right, NBA Tuesday, John. Got to get into some bets that you got going here. It's the last night of the in-season tournament?
Yeah, last night of the in-season tournament. The knockout around is today. Then they have the playoffs next week. Pretty interesting weekly schedule next week. We have 2 games on Monday, Tuesday, no games on Wednesday, no game on Friday. The championship's on Saturday, so it should be a pretty fun week there for the NBA. But it's loaded up here today. I got 8 games on the board.
All right, so where are you going with some of your bets tonight?
Yeah, first one I'm going to go with here. I'm going to go with Max Strus over 12.5 point score. These are all going to be player props that I've been kind of keying in on. And I put this one in our Discord as well. It feels, again, like a line that is one of those suspicious lines. He's gone over to this total in 8 of the last 10 games where he's played at least 30 minutes. This is an in-season tournament game where points matter. So if you look across the league and look at these teams that are competing in the in-season tournament, all of their starters are basically playing as if these are actual playoff games. They're playing 35, 36, 37 minutes here. So there should be a minute ceiling here for Strus in this matchup against Atlanta. They're home. It's the second highest game total on the board at 237. And from a pace perspective, Atlanta's third in pace, while Cleveland is down towards the middle of the pack. So it's a massive pace up spot for Cleveland here as well. So I'm just looking at this number and trying to figure out why it's so low tonight, given the matchup, given the game and the significance of the game and all that comes with this spot here, and how good Max Strus has been for Cleveland this season here. So I'm riding the over 12.5 points scored here tonight.
And what's Cleveland's scenario with the group play and all the in-season tournaments? Do they need to? Because I know Boston needs to win big tonight, right?
Boston has to win by 23 or more, and then has to have the Nets not win by 15. They have 3 different paths. I was looking at it. All of it's kind of confusing. For Cleveland's path here, I'm trying to pull it up. I just had it. So Cleveland has 2 paths. They can win tonight over the Hawks, then have the Knicks, Heat, Celtics, and Nets all lose, or win over Atlanta tonight and then finish second in Group A with the tiebreaker. So they need to win tonight regardless, and then they need to win by a lot too. So they have the potential to win by the tiebreaker point total. So even more of a reason why all these starters are playing so many minutes in these in-season tournament games is because points matter. Again, you're looking at some of these props here, and I know Vegas bakes a lot of this into that as well, but the fact that you're usually looking at Max Strus playing 30 to 32 minutes a night, and now he's probably going to play 35, 36 just because the in-season tournament matters here. The point total feels pretty low for what his production's been this year when playing 30 minutes. And you add in just the matchup here against Atlanta, the fact that Cleveland's at home here as well, that Atlanta's playing for things, all of this matters here tonight. So I like Strus over the 12.5 points.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, with that angle, the fact that they need the starters to go out and ball. All right. What else you got going?
Yeah, I got one that I think you could throw a single game parlay in here if you want, or if you want to do these all by themselves, go for it as well. This is the Houston-Dallas matchup. Dallas is at home, 4.5-point favorites. This game, I think, is like a 228 or so game total in that range. Luka Doncic over 29.5 points scored is where I'm going here. He's gotten 30 or more in back-to-back games for them. A lot of people are looking at this matchup against Houston and maybe a little worried because of how good Houston's been defensively. But on the road, they've actually struggled a little bit more than they've been at home. Again, I'm liking this spot here for Dallas. They're competing. Houston's competing here. I think Luka just kind of takes this one over. Also, what's benefiting, I think, Luka in this spot is the potential to get to the free throw line. Houston is allowing the third most free throw attempts to their opponents. They're just a team that, while they play good defense, they also get a little handsy in there as well. So, Luka doesn't need to have a great shooting night tonight. He just needs to get to the free throw line 10 or so more times, which is something he's capable of doing. So I like the Luka over 29.5 points. And then I got a couple of Alperen Şengün props here. We're going with 20 plus points on the alt point line. At one point today, it was 20.5, and then it got moved up to 21.5. I kind of took the alt line there, 20 plus points scored. And then I like his PRA, 36.5. This is the guy that the offense is just moving through right now. He's had near double-digit assists. He's been getting double-digit rebounds. He's been scoring over 20 actual here the last few games. And again, another spot where these starters should be playing a boatload of minutes in these in-season tournament games here. You're looking at the front court that Dallas is going to be putting out there. Rookie Derek Livers is questionable tonight. They don't really have a strong front court outside of that, especially during the rebounding. So I like Şengün's PRA over 36.5 here this evening. So if you want a same game parlay, you can. Luka points, Şengün points, and Şengün PRA, or if you want to take all those individually, it's just a matchup I'm looking to target here tonight.
Yeah, and so what's the scenario, the in-season tournament scenario for Dallas and Houston?
Yeah, let me get that for you. I keep on clicking off of it as you asked it, but I should just keep it up. Here we go. Hold on, give me 1 second. Dallas is in-season tournament here. Where are they? Let's see.
I can pull it up if you want to go to your next prop here.
Yeah, let's see. Where do I have it? Where do I have it at? Yeah, you guys, if you have it, pull it up. I just lost my spot on where I had it listed out here. So if you got the Dallas one, let me know. My next play there, just to kind of go over another game where you could do the single game parlay if you want. It's 2 picks. I do RJ Barrett over 21.5 points and rebounds. Again, when he's played over 30 minutes in games here, he's had a pretty good success rate of going over this total of 7 in the last 10 games. Again, an in-season tournament game, we're expecting to play 30 plus minutes. And it's also the Knicks. Thibodeau just plays his starters a lot of minutes regardless. Now, New York is an 11.5 point home favorite in this one. So you certainly could see a blowout happen here, but I like Barrett. Whenever he's getting the minutes, he's going over to this total with the points and rebounds. And on the opposite side of that one, we have Terry Rozier over 19.5 points scored here. No LaMelo Ball. And Steve Clifford is another coach. It doesn't matter if the Hornets are up by 20 or down by 20. His starters just play like 35 minutes anyways. So I'm not even really worried about a blowout in this matchup here. We do like targeting opposing guards against the Knicks. Jalen Brunson's a much smaller guard for teams to take over. And Rozier's a guy without ball on the floor, should be taking 20 plus shots. So getting the over 19.5 points for Rozier feels pretty solid. So if you want a single game parlay that one, you can as well. Barrett over the 21.5 points and rebounds, and Rozier over 19.5 points.
In the chat here, we had T. Hartley saying the Mavs need to win to make a 3-way tie for second.
Yeah.
I think if the
Rockets can clinch with a win.
Yeah, if the Rockets win, they win the group.
Yeah.
I think, though, from what I'm reading, though, I think is Dallas eliminated because of their point differential?
If they win by a lot, maybe? Let's see here. They could be eliminated.
I think from what I'm seeing, the Nuggets, Mavs, and Clippers have all been eliminated in the group. It's basically down to the Pelicans and Rockets in that group.
So they could play upset is basically what we're looking at here?
Yeah, basically they're trying to play upset from what I'm seeing because I think of the total points there.
Yeah, so, I'm reading about it right now. Again, there's 9 different scenarios for all these teams to go through.
Yeah,
so regardless, Houston has to win, and they're road underdogs here tonight. So it should at least push this game to being competitive. And Luka will play a lot of minutes in competitive games. So I still like the over and a half there. Then the last play I have SGA over 41.5 PRA. This game opened with Minnesota as a 4.5-point home favorite. They're now 2.5-point home favorite, so the money is moving in on the road Thunder here. I always like the Thunder as it is, and SGA is a guy that just is an absolute monster. He just produces, and he's going to carry the Thunder in this one the way the money's going. So if the Thunder end up winning this one outright here tonight, it's going to be because SGA had a huge game, and in some recent games by guards against Minnesota, we've seen guys like Lillard and whatnot have some pretty big impact here. So I do like Gilgeous-Alexander tonight over 41.5 PRA tonight.
All right. We got other NBA bets up on fantasyalarm.com from Iggy Gilbert. He's been killing it with his bets and props with his daily articles over there. So definitely check that out. NBA DFS for tonight as well. We got, the playbook covered. We got the live show coming up with John and James a little bit later, but the article for NBA DFS help and the best bets are you get with the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription. If you haven't already, you get one-on-one expert access in the Discord as well. The league sync and lineup generators that we have at Fantasy Alarm for all sports, but for DFS, daily rankings and contests, weekly contests, all that good stuff. We got you covered for every sport, including college basketball for tonight. I got the college basketball DFS playbook out for tonight's slate as well if you're interested in the college hoops angle. So scan that QR code right there, fantasyalarm.com/annual to go all pro. Yeah. All right, college hoops. Had some winners I gave out on yesterday's show, so I'm going to try to keep this going. Got 3 games I want to give out here. We got the ACC SEC challenge going on with these non-conference games this week, and some interesting matchups here. Miami, Kentucky is the headliner tonight. Should be an awesome game to watch. Not going aside here. I could see Miami keeping it close. Kentucky is favored 6.5 here, but I'm just going over on this game. Over 164.5 is what it is at BetMGM. Both these teams love to play fast offensively. They're also very efficient offensively. Both have really good, offensive scoring teams and strong guard play from both sides. But they're also both a little shaky defensively to start this season, and I think it's going to be the case for most of the year. Kentucky, 15th in offensive pace this year, 6th in offensive efficiency in college basketball right now. Miami, 22nd in pace and 11th in offensive efficiency. So as I said, both teams love to play fast. They love to, go down, score quick early in the shot clocks. They're both launching threes as well, both shooting well from 3. And it's been resulting in high scoring games because I mentioned both teams just have the shakier defenses. Kentucky, they got a young team. This is a team full of freshmen. Also some transfers in there, but all these guys are not playing great defense. We saw their game against Kansas, which was a high scoring game, back and forth offensive matchup there. And when they played some of these top teams like Miami here, where they also just want to go and score, it's going to result in a lot of high scoring games. The total here, 164.5 is high, but I think it's high for a reason. And I expect this game to be played in the 80s to finish. And Kentucky, interesting trends for both teams here. Kentucky, they've gone over their total in 4 straight games, included allowing 88 and 82 points in their past 2 games to St. Joe's and Marshall, which is, I think, worrisome when you're going up against Miami, who can definitely put up 90 points here at least, and push Kentucky in this game. And Miami, 4-1 to the over this season overall. Again, just playing in these higher scoring games. So yeah, give me the over here. It's gonna be an awesome game to watch, and a lot of DFS action here as well. If you're looking to play some DFS, I broke all that down in the playbook as I mentioned. So yeah, the over in Miami, Kentucky. Then going road favorite here. A couple road favorites actually. Utah State -6.5 here against St. Louis. I just think that St. Louis is in a bad spot right now. They lost their leading scorer, Sincere Parker, to a broken foot. He's out indefinitely. They already had to replace some of their top guys from last year's team, and losing Parker this early in the season is a tough spot. And in the 3 games without him, They lost by double digits to both Vermont and Wichita State, and then they barely beat Dartmouth by 1 point last game. Dartmouth is not a good team, so that is very worrisome that they just squeaked out that win. But losing by double digits to Vermont and Wichita State, two other solid non-conference opponents, kind of comparative to Utah State here, I think is worrisome that they could not keep it close against both those teams. And I think Utah State should get this win, even though they are on the road here. Was very impressed with them last week. They won their little MTE tournament, mini tournament early in the season. Impressively won that. And they're now 3-1 against the spread as favorites this year. I just think that they are going in a better direction right now than what St. Louis is dealing with. So I think they are just kind of like a step above where St. Louis is right now. St. Louis, by the way, in their current little stretch without Sincere Parker in the lineup, they're 0-2 against the spread as underdogs, with both being those double-digit losses to Vermont and Wichita State. So, give me Utah State on the road here to get at least to cover this spread and win comfortably.
Cool.
Then another road road favorite here back to the SEC ACC Challenge. Give me Mississippi State -8.5. Just been really impressed with Mississippi State this year. They already have 3 comfortable wins of at least 9 points against 3 power conference teams already: Arizona State, Washington State, and Northwestern. They've already proven this. They have a top tier defense in the country. They're ranked 4th best defense in college basketball, according to Ken Palm's ratings, holding every opponent to less than 65 points so far as well. So that's the worry for me here with Georgia Tech. I think they're just going to struggle scoring, because this is a team that's underwhelmed this year. This is a rebuilding year for Georgia Tech with an offseason coaching change with Damon Stoudemire now as the head guy. And, they had a lot of roster turnover from last year. This is kind of one of those rebuilding years where they're going to suffer some of these losses against, just teams that are clearly a tier above this year. They just lost to UMass Lowell a couple of weeks ago. John, you're from that area. I'm sure you realize that UMass Lowell.
Now? Like what is?
It was pretty bad. And then they got blown out by Cincinnati by 35 points last week in their last game. So this is a team that's not in a good spot right now. And Cincinnati was, that was the toughest opponent they faced, and lower rated and lower tier than Mississippi State. And the 35-point loss. It was on the road there, and this is at home, but I don't think it's going to matter much, because Mississippi State has already been playing, against power conference teams, and it wasn't a neutral court setting, and they, they're going to benefit from playing in that neutral court tournament setting that they just played in against Northwestern and Washington State. So even though this is the first true road game for Mississippi State, I still think they should get the comfortable win here, because they are just I don't see Georgia Tech scoring as much to keep this close. Give me the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
I had no idea UMass Lowell was a Division I team now. So I spent my freshman year of college at UMass Lowell. They were not. I don't think they had a basketball team at the time. So
that is a relatively new thing. I think in the past 10 years or something that they became a D1 team. Okay. So it's very new that there are now.
They're always a big hockey team, always a great hockey school. I didn't know they had a basketball team. So
they just beat Georgia Tech. So who knows?
They almost beat Arizona State apparently too. They lost by 2.
They did, yeah. They're feisty. They're feisty up there.
Exactly.
Those are the 3 bets I got for college basketball tonight. Should be an awesome slate. This whole week though, we got a really good non-conference games. So I'll be giving out picks each day here. All right, let's wrap this up with some hockey. Let's bring our producer, Adam Bernard. He's got his pulse on the hockey. I just saw a new episode of Hockey Better Now, right, is out on YouTube for the people that want to go check that out. Some betting, some fantasy hockey all mixed in there. But you got some picks tonight, right?
Yeah, Better Hockey Now. Our latest episode came out yesterday. Unfortunately, we recorded right before Dean Evison got fired in Minnesota, so we'll cover that on the next episode. Nonetheless, got 3 games I'm looking at tonight here from the NHL slate. First up, we got a Metropolitan Division matchup between the Hurricanes and the Flyers. I mentioned in one of our previous NHL pick segments that Flyers goaltender Carter Hart has been playing reliably well this season. He hasn't allowed more than 3 goals in a game since November 1st, and he held Carolina to a 1 goal just 2 weeks ago. Philly's also gone cold, scoring just 4 goals in their last 3 games. Carolina also not setting the world on fire here offensively. They eked out a 3-2 win over the lowly Columbus Blue Jackets. They did allow 8, 6, and 4, respectively, in the 3 games prior, but all those were high-powered offensive teams. Both of these teams are defensive-minded, so even though it's a little juiced at minus 130 on PointsBet, I'm going to take Carolina and Philadelphia under 6.5.
All right. You've been I feel like you've got your pulse on the Flyers. I feel like every time we bring you on, you get some kind of bet with the Flyers.
Well, the thing with the Flyers is they're not going to be, they're still playing decent hockey right now. I don't think they're a playoff team in the long run, but John Tortorella is the kind of coach that even if they're going to be a bad team, he's not going to let them be a bad team. So they'll be competitive. They play defense. So, when you look at Flyer games, you kind of look at the under, especially because Carter Hart's been playing better this year. So that's something I kind of key in on depending on the opponent.
All right. What else you got rolling?
All right. Next game, we got the Penguins down in Nashville, a rematch of the 2017 Stanley Cup Finals. Nashville's on a 5-game winning streak, 2 impressive wins over Winnipeg and Colorado. That being said, this is following a 4-game losing streak. They're a very streaky team, and I don't think they're as good as their current winning streak. Pittsburgh is on the flip side, having lost 4 of their last 6, but encouraging signs because goaltender Tristan Jarry, he's gone, even though 1 and 2 in his last 3, a .941 save percentage in that stretch. You factor that in with Pittsburgh getting a momentum-building win in Toronto on Saturday night, and I think it's also asking a lot for the Predators to beat 2 strong goalies in 2 straight games, having played Winnipeg last time out, Connor Hellebuck. So I'll take the chance with the Penguins on the money line at minus 115 on the road tonight in Nashville.
All right. And you got one more here?
Got one more game. If you're looking for some West Coast action late, if you can't fall asleep, Ducks Canucks over 6.5 minus 125 on Caesars. And if you're looking to make a single game parlay, you can look at the Canucks puck line minus a puck and a half, minus 105 also on Caesars. The Ducks have allowed 20 goals in their last 4 games. It's an average of 5 per game, and they've been averaging 2 per game in that stretch in terms of what they're scoring. Vancouver has cleared this total in 9 of their last 11. If it goes to 7, it could get dicey, but 6.5, I think you're very safe here. Vancouver coming off a loss to the Sharks. Nobody likes to do that, even if the San Jose Sharks are playing better. So they're looking to bounce back here against another bad team at home. They've cleared this puck line in 5 of their last 6 victories. So, people were skeptical when the Canucks came out strong in the beginning of the year. Are they legit or not? Once people started to buy in, they've cooled off a little bit. I think this is a really good tee-off spot at home against Anaheim here to go over on the puck line, go over on the total, and also cover the puck line.
Probably like the Vancouver team total. I'm not sure what that is, but if you think they can cover the puck line and this game goes over, right? Yeah,
that's something worth looking at as well. But I think Anaheim, they kind of got off to a strong start, but nobody really believed it, and then they became what everybody thought they were going to be. And I think this is a good chance for Vancouver to kind of get things back on track here.
Nice.
Yeah, you can get you got over 4.5 goals for the Canucks is plus 125. Over 3.5 is minus 175. So basically looking at 4 goals or so for Vancouver here.
If it's not impossible against John Gibson, who's a guy who's likely to be traded to somebody who needs goaltending at some point, but doesn't have great play in front of him at times. So there you go.
I know they're great to sometimes roster Gibson in DFS because of how many shots he tends to face, and even if he gives up a couple goals, if he has 35 shots saved or something like that, you still get a good amount of fantasy points scored. So.
And that's also why he's a target for the team that's going to contend, because he's a guy that if you actually put him behind somebody that plays competent defense,
right, he
might be real good. So or get back to his old ways, I should say.
T Hartley 16 on the YouTube chat here saying I think he likes that call on the Canucks and the over there. Also saying that Torts has them playing well all over the ice. They compete. We're talking about the Flyers.
That's the thing with Tortorella. He just doesn't have any he should never coach a team that wants to tank because he'll quit before he does that. So And that's what Philly is. And the thing with Philly is they've got a couple of young guys coming up that's starting to, get their playing time. And, Philly's, they're not a team I would want to play down the stretch if I need a couple of points.
Gotcha. All right. So awesome, Adam. Some hockey picks. And again, check out the Hockey Better Now new episode up on Fantasy Alarm, Bettor Sports Network YouTube's to check out you and Chris Murray and Anthony Rivera, all three of you guys.
The line mates, as I like to call them. Yeah, we trot it out every week, and we do a fantasy focus. We look on we try to do a little bit of a gambling aspect, with futures, and the main segment's always devoted around one specific team. Or this week there's this trend that 77% of the teams that are in playoff position on American Thanksgiving make the playoffs. So that's 12 out of 16 if you round it down. So we tried to figure out who are the 4 teams that are not going to be in and who's going to take their spot. It was good stuff. Go check it out.
Gotcha. Interesting stat there. All right. Some hockey. And if you want some more basketball content, coming up right after us, NBA DFS live show, Jon Impemba pulling double duty tonight, and James Grande, 5 p.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy on YouTube's. Yep. And then the Bettorcast is tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, NFL trivia on the Bettorcast. So stay tuned all night long for some betting, for some fantasy, DFS. Check out Fantasy Alarm for all the written content over on that we got for all the sports tonight as well. We'll be back tomorrow here on Bettor Sports Betting. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, watching here on Tuesday. Tomorrow we got some Howard Bender with the NFL early leans for the weekend, and definitely some more college basketball picks from myself. Dive into it all tomorrow, and we'll catch you guys later. Appreciate you tuning in.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.